Okay, so first of all, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Could you tell us where you live, who you are, perhaps about your family, and whether you have a job or what you're doing at the moment?
Right, my name is Bola, and I live on St Mary's Island. Lived there for about 8 years. Very, very happily married to Valentina. She's not here today. She's doing a half marathon this morning. Yeah, she should have done it. She should be finished by now. Yeah, we grew up 2 great children. A boy, Caleb, who's 8, and Deborah, she's 7. I work as a project manager in my team. I work sort of consultancy work, so on and off a couple of times. At the moment, I'm off work, so I have been away for a month on holiday. So I was in Toronto for 3 weeks, in Dallas for a month. All weddings, not planned, just weddings. So, but it was a great time, great to be away.
I'm Parveen. What were the questions?
Who are you? Where do you live? Tell us about your family and whether you have a job.
Okay, I'm Parveen. I live in Strood in a house share. Currently live with Toby and Acacia, who's not here. It's just me and Ma. And I work... Yeah, she's there. Hey, Ma. And I work at H&M Blue Water. Lovely. My clothes are slowly becoming all H&M. What else?
That's it. Oh, brilliant. Right, okay. Next question. This is the good one. Can you tell us something unusual about yourself, an interesting fact, or whether you have any hobbies or something?
That's very easy. Nothing unusual. I think everyone knows this. A very keen runner.
Have you done a marathon before?
I have done about 4 marathons.
Shut up.
I've eaten about 40 marathons. They're Snickers now.
Yes, and I got into it about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, intensely, with the other guys in CFIT, Adam, Phil, Gordon. So we've just grown in that field, grown in just enjoying the sport as a whole. And yeah, we're moving on. I think some of us are thinking of doing triathlons, Ironman, that sort of thing. So gradually increasing. And interesting facts. I don't think anyone knows this. I've lost about 3 toenails.
Can you have a look? We'll all look afterwards, okay? After the sermon.
I don't think I'm that I don't have any hobbies, do I? I like sleeping, I like eating. What? Oh, I do like shopping. Is that? Oh, that's really bad. Oh, okay, no more shopping from now. Oh, that's really bad. Yeah, I do like hair. Okay, yeah, I got a few things. Hair. Huh? Cooking, babysitting. Huh? WWE, yeah. WWE is really cool.
I think we all know Parveen more than she knows herself.
Oh, no, that's really embarrassing. I love wrestling, so I like...
Why do you do it?
No, I like The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's my favourite. So, Lord, if you
Adam's looking at me going, rein it in, rein it in.
I don't have any interesting...
It's because you're so interesting, you don't need any hobbies to make you interesting.
I'll take that.
So, okay, phew. Right, can you now tell us why are you so... Bola's going to be doing lead, which you've already started, and Parveen's going to be doing something called ID, which stands for intentional discipleship. Intentional discipleship. So can you tell us why you're going to be doing that and what's led you to this point in time? Not too long.
That was to me, wasn't it?
I'm doing lead. Started last week. Had the whole weekend out, and it will go on for 2 years. It's been quite a journey for me. I was meant to have done something similar a couple of years ago, but it wasn't the right time. But I believe now is the time. And why do I want to do it? I want to have a structured path into leadership. So a real training to really harness what I believe God has put in me. I think looking back, I've come to realize that it's a path that God has set me on. I'm the only male from my dad. I'm second to the last, and with that comes a level of responsibility. You don't choose to be a leader, you are born into it. So I've grown with that, and for some people that don't know, I was born into a Muslim home. So I grew up within that kind of structure, and culturally, a guy or male child carries a lot of responsibility. So growing in that sort of atmosphere and growing through school, being chosen in my class, all through school, I was sort of class captain, growing up into head boy, into secondary school, the same thing. So it was the same sort of thing. And it was a decision that was made by others. I never put myself forward for it. So I just feel, now that I've known that, is also taking ownership of that journey and saying, yes, I'm here, you've made me like this, I'm taking that responsibility, and I want to be the best that I can be, doing what you've called me to do.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
He stole my answer.
But you're not a boy.
Oh yeah. Well, no jokes. So I really wanted to kind of share that this wasn't just a kind of off the whim decision that we just kind of decided, oh, ID's been announced, oh, I know, Parveen will do it, that's a good idea, or we'll put a few names forward and whoever comes forward or whoever it works for should do it. But actually, especially within this church, so I've been here 6 years now, and it's been something that's come up regularly, if not every year, and doing this, so I became a Christian in 2005, and then it's been kind of on and off every other year that there's a Bible college, leadership training, something like along those lines. So kind of like the timeline. Gordon joked that I should just do a timeline PowerPoint, but I don't know how to do that. 2009, I was interviewed with Faith Camp. So I just failed uni, and someone said, go to Faith Camp and just kind of have a week and just get kind of refocused. Interviewed with them to do their Bible year in Horsham, and for whatever reasons, it didn't work. October, I then moved here that same year, and it was with the intention that I was going to do the formerly known FYP, which is now ID. And so those that have been here for plus 6 years will have known that we were fundraising, I was babysitting the Norwoods to earn some money for it, and just, not the Norwoods, but their children. Just give them some red wine, they're fine. Sorry. Oh no. Rein it in. Rein it in. And again, that didn't happen. 2010, we kind of looked at it again, and finance was an issue. 2011, my housing was an issue. I was living with Teresa at the time, so I was like, would you stay here for a bit longer? And then I moved out in 2012. Then I left and went and decided to swan off to France. And I made a 3-year plan with them before I came back for Phil and Abby's wedding, that I was going to do their version of a leadership training course. And we were looking at places to rent, we were looking at furniture, jobs there. There was a little church plant that I was really kind of, that's a whole different story. And again, I came back, and then for whatever reasons, I couldn't get back to France, even though it's not that far, but that didn't kind of work out. And And it all kind of really, the ball began rolling last year. So if you know me, I have a problem keeping jobs, not because I'm flaky, but just because they never seem to work out. And I was standing in worship kind of the beginning of last year, and I was just praying and really felt like I just wasn't supposed to work in the world, and that my job or whatever I'm supposed to be doing is not what the world has, that kind of fixed plan of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to college, go to uni, get a good job. Like, that hasn't been how I've done it. So that's Sunday, so this is really important. Sunday, not made for work in the world. Monday, I was sitting at home. I was working with Bunny at the time at the Howard School, and I was making a 5-year plan with them as well, to do my GCSE maths again, do my A-level maths, and then look at teacher training. I was sitting with Acacia, and she was like, "What are your options?" She loves options. And she was like, did all the options. She said, "Well, either way, you've got to go back to uni." So I was like, "Oh, okay, university, that's good. I've been before, maybe I could finish my degree or whatever." And then she just offered the question, "What about FP?" And I went, "Ooh, that's interesting." And then it's like Sunday, Monday, and then on Tuesday, I was at church doing the job club with Brian, and I was just talking to Adam and Gordon randomly about some kids' work or something, and Gordon says, "What about FP?" So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then I was talking to Rhonda at the time. Lots of people involved, I love this. Talking to Rhonda at the time, and we were just talking about it, and I was just like, all of these options I'm trying to work out, and she says, "Are you kidding me? Like, you're asking God for options," and he's kind of just narrowing it down. She just did this and just said that, you're asking God for options, and he's showing you the option, FP. And I was just like, "Oh, that's really interesting." So we wrote it down, we prayed about it. I chose uni, so I planned to go back to uni. I spent loads of money getting all my certificates sorted and done all of these plans. Would I go back into the first year? Would I go back into the second year? I went back. Again, the door slammed in my face and it didn't work. Uni was over. And then I was sitting out in the pavilion with Gordon one Sunday, just having like a discussion about something that had happened, and then we just stopped talking about it, and he says, "So how are you?" And I just burst into tears, and he was like, "What happened?" I was like, "Oh, uni's over, it's all finished." And he goes, "Do you know, we thought we really had you this time for FP, like to start the set." So this is sometime in September last year. And I was like, "What, really? Why didn't you say?" And he said, "Well, you chose uni, so we were just happy that you'd made a decision. So we just thought we'd support you." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, no, I've made the wrong decision." I was crying on the way home with Acacia. And then I was doing a worship encounter at the time. So this is really important, all of this stuff, because it's just amazing how this last year has all kind of rolled out. I was doing a worship encounter, and I was talking to a guy called Chris. Was just sitting outside his car, and I was just telling him about all of this, and I was like, "I've made the wrong decision." And he said, "Look," he was talking about Joseph, and he was talking about Jonah, and just how the dream remained the same. It was Joseph that had to go through the change, and Jonah went the other way, but if he'd have just gone God's way in the first place, some things would have been okay. Got home, burst into tears again, phoned Rhonda. I was like, "What have I done? I've made the wrong decision." She's like, "Right, phone Gordon now, see if it's too late." So I rang Gordon, he didn't pick up, and then the next morning I was about to start my new job at Lush, and he rang me and he says, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm still in bed." He's like, "Well, get dressed, I'm coming to pick you up, I'll take you to work." So we did that, and he said, "Right, what's going on?" So I just spilled all this kind of, I've made the wrong decision, and he says, sat in Costa in Bluewater, and just said, "Right, I'll ring them up and I'll see if we can get you on it for now." A week went past, he said, "No, it's too late, you've missed one already, but, I'll go back to the leadership, we'll talk and we'll see what's going on, and we'll see if we can get you on for next year." And I was like, "Oh, okay," but honestly, this time last year in September, that seemed like a whole year. Are you kidding me? That's so far away. And I just said, "Yeah, that's fine, okay, we'll have a look at it." And he's like, "What about this? What about that?" And I was like, "Yeah, we'll get there." He went on paternity leave because he then adopted. He said, "Well, look at it in January." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, January." January comes. "You still interested?" "Yeah." Sorry. No, there's more. There's more. I've got another page. yeah, so look, I've written, no! We discussed and prayed. So we'll reassess in January, we'll reassess in Easter. If you still want to go ahead, we'll look at the application, we'll put it forward to the church. And then we're talking about the job centre, which is my favourite place. Hashtag not. Don't say that, sorry, I said it. We put it forward to the church, and then you guys were all like, that's a no-brainer. And I was like, really? This is happening? So this is kind of the summertime. And then, when did Marshall come? That was a while ago. That whole day, I missed that whole day of Marshall Scheitel being here. I was on youth in the morning, and then, Bola was there. And then in the evening, I rocked over to Smithers' house, and I just kind of said, oh, hi, how are you guys doing? And they were just really tired, so I was like, I'm taking your kids, I'll come back in a bit. And took the kids, I missed the evening bit, and then went back to Smithers and did some stuff there. And then when I came back into the church, it had all finished. And Marshall had said to me something about, I can't remember all of it, but just about the fruit coming from working with youth. And then I was talking to Bola and Val, and I was like, all laughing and joking, and then he got serious, and Val was like, no, he's serious. I was like, oh, okay. And he says, you always quit? And I was like, thanks. And like, no, but you always quit, and, you know, that's cycling up a hill, and you would get off and push the bike up, but you need to stay on the bike and you need to keep going. And that morning, I'm speaking to Rhonda in the car park, and I was like, how is this ever going to work? I've got no money, I've got none of this, and nothing's going to work. And she was just like, don't worry, we'll pray about it. She went home and Tony stayed, and I was sitting watching everyone pray together, and I was talking to, just watching everyone talk to each other, and Tony kept trying to grab my eye, Rhonda's Tony, and I was just like, not trying to look at him. And then he caught my eye and he goes, so have you made a decision? I was like, yeah. And I went, wait, what are you talking about? And he was like, have you made a decision? I was like, decision about what? And then he just went on this whole thing about, if you've heard from God 3 times, you have to respond. If you choose to not respond, you're being disobedient. I was like, okay. And then I was thinking, well, in my head at the time, I was thinking, well, I just spoke to Rhonda. They're married, I trust her, so she must have told him what I said. And he's like, there will always be money in the mailbox, and there'll always be food on your doorstep. And I was thinking, she must have told him. So I was just like, all right, okay then. And then the next morning she texts me again. Are you kidding me? Tony just told me what he said. I swear to you, I told him nothing. So I'm like, yo, cry, this is crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry, I've really gone on. But I just wanted to kind of just get across that this isn't a decision where we've just gone, oh yeah, Parveen will be good at this. This has been a real kind of big journey kind of thing for me. And it's just, there's loads of words as well that people have given, like Matilda spoke over me just one Sunday when he was talking about the nations, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And Ben Goodman's like, you want adventure, have adventure. And I'm like, okay. But this whole thing is not just something that I've taken lightly. This is a big deal. And it starts tomorrow.
Brilliant. Thank you. Just amazing. Like, just what comes through is the fact that, you know, no matter how much we feel like it doesn't work, it's going wrong, you stick with God and what He's saying, and He just keeps opening it up for us, doesn't He? And also, I thought what stood out with Parveen's story is just the church, that, like she said, so many different names, and how we're not alone, and God puts people around us that speak truth to us when we need to hear that. So thank you for sharing that.